Hi, and welcome back to the Orchid Life of me, Trish. I appreciate you clicking on the video. So today we are going to talk about les mounts. I had taken them down to water them, and I was like, well, when I have them down, let's go ahead and chat about them, see what they're doing. It's close to the end of January. And then wanted to take another look at them at the beginning of spring, and then again at the end of spring, kind of see what growth they've done, if any. I was watering them like every 3 days, but with us running the heat more now because it has been a little cooler in Colorado, today it is a nice sunny day. I think it's like 55 degrees out there right now, so the heat hasn't been running as much, but I found I am having to water them. Really, I should be watering them every day. I've been good at doing it every other day, but I think I need to go to every day until we start running the AC again or the heat doesn't run as much. But we're going to start off with, which one do we, let's start off with this one. So this is my Brassavola Little Stars that, let me move you up a little bit more so you can see it a little better. There we go. So half of this is in a pot, and then this portion I put on a mount. And since she's been on here, she's doing well. I mean, she hasn't bloomed, and I wasn't expecting her to. Who am I kidding? Of course I was. But I'm pretty sure she's going to bloom for me one day. But for now, she's doing well on the mount that she's on. She sits right under a grow light that is, let's see, she's right here. And the grow light is probably about, I don't know, I'm bad about that, maybe a foot away, if that. And she does have lots of new growths, as you can see on there. And she does have a lot of new root growth as well. When it's wet, you can really tell. And a lot of the roots are now starting to absorb the water. They're not resisting it, or as Nina says, Tefloning it. And you can see one of the little roots down here at the bottom is already starting to come out. So I'm pretty pleased with her progress so far. I just, like I said, I probably need to water her more often. I know they don't mind being dry, and all of the ones that I have on mounts can take a dry cycle, except for maybe the Tolumnias. I think I'm leaving them too dry. I'll show you why in a minute. Then I have my 2 Hippodamias here. Well, technically it's 3. So they all came in one pot. I was waiting for new growth, new roots. I said, oh, now it's time to repot it. Well, when I repotted it, I ended up with 3. So ended up with 3 plants instead of 1. So 2 of them are on this mount here, and this one hangs next to the Brassavola. And she does not have any new growths on this one. This one has just recently started doing some root activity. This one, however, has completed this new growth, because this was the growth that I saw when I went to repot. So she's completed that, and now she's working on, let me see if I can kind of move that one out of the way so you can see. So she is working on a new growth right here, and she does have quite the root system starting. So you can see one of them is coming out here, and then she's got this one off of here, and then she's got a couple of new little roots on that piece. This piece right here, it hangs in my kitchen, and I don't know how my staghorn fern died, because this one literally hangs on the other side of where that staghorn fern was hanging. I guess when I said I wasn't going to pay attention to my houseplants, I wasn't lying. Anyway, so she grew this new growth right here, and this new growth was growing similar to the way this one was, where it's growing down initially. Now she's starting to grow up. I'm not sure why. The lighting hasn't changed. They both receive the same amount of light, so I'm not sure what's going on with that. But this root right here, let's see if you can see it behind that leaf there. But that root right there was growing really well. Well, now that root tip has kind of died off a little bit. And again, I think it's because I'm not keeping her moist enough. Then she does have new roots growing here, and it is coming off of the new growth. So I'm going to definitely be watering this one more often. And then, let me move them out of the way. And I have to just be really careful. Then we have my Montana Big Sky here, who, when I put her on this mount in, I believe it was August, yes, August of 2021, she was just finishing off this, or not finishing off, but it's just starting on this growth here. And so I put her on this mount because in a pot, she was growing like this, like laying down. So with her spreading habit, I said, well, she needs to go on a mount. This way she can kind of grow however she wants to. Well, as you can see, she's starting her laying down process still. I don't see a new growth starting on her just yet. She has hardened off this leaf, so it is matured, but look at all the roots that she's got coming. I mean, she's even got them peeking out of the bottom there. So when I do take her off the wall, I have to be really careful to make sure that that root right there is not sitting on the wall and I break it. And I have noticed with my Montana Big Sty as well that new roots come off of the older growths. I do not see any new roots coming off of this one unless they're coming in from the area down there that I just can't see. But all of the roots that I can trace back appear to be coming off of the older growths. So that is amazing. And look at the juicy root tips on those. Oh my goodness, so pretty. All right, and I've had her since 2019. I bought her as a seedling. She's been through quite the ordeal with me and my learning curve. Then we have the 3 soft cloud cakeys that I put on this mount, and I believe they've been on here since April. So all 3 of them were starting a leaf growth when I put them on there. That all 3 had fairly decent root system. This one here is continuing to extend this aerial spike. And for those of you who've watched my channel enough know I love aerial roots. But I also am enjoying how the roots are starting to come out of the moss and around into the mount. These 2, so this one has a leaf that you can really see the progression on. This one is just starting a leaf that you can barely see. This one doesn't have anything going on with her other than root growth. So again, this one hangs under, she hangs under a grow light, but she does have this one here that we're going to talk about next. My BCT kind of sitting on top of her, but she's still getting enough light for a phalaenopsis. And we'll talk about the BCT in a second. And then my other keiki, phalaenopsis keiki mount, that I recently spotlighted in a video. She had a few roots when I put her on here. She was my first attempt at a mount, but since then she's put on quite the roots that we can see, and there might even be roots underneath that we can't see because this root, although it looks desiccated, it's still firm, and when I wet it, it does green up a little bit, although it's that ugly green. She has finished off this leaf. This leaf is now hardened off, so it'll be wanky forever. But her bloom, I just think that is so pretty. So the Phalaenopsis Soft Clouds is a solid white. The lip and everything is the same, minus the little burnt portion, the little burnt brown portion. But at the bottom of the sepals, do you see the pale yellow? Kind of a tan color. That's different from the soft cloud itself. So she has definitely is sneaking herself into my heart. And I'm not a big fan of white flowers. The soft clouds, I got both of them. I had 2, or had 2 because one of them did. They were both given to me as a gift. So that is that one. And I'm expecting her to, once she gets her rhythm, I've found with my soft clouds, they spike, they bloom, spikes get cut off. Month or so later, another spike is produced. So I'm hoping that she follows that same pattern, which will be wonderful. Then we have my Tillumia Jirac Firm Super Brown that has been on this mount since October. I got her in September in a pot, and I put her on this mount in September. So let me see if I can find it. So that growth right there, this one right here, is extending rather quickly, where this one here is kind of taking its time. You can barely see that one. Let's see if I can get a little bit closer. But do you see it now? So it's still going, and this one here is actually producing roots. When the media is wet, you can see the roots in there. And she hangs under the Grow Starlight that I got to test, and I will be doing an update on how that is working out down there in the basement later this month. And then this one is my Hoxiana. So I did lose one of the fans. I had a fan here, And when I lost that one, I added this moss on here because this one here barely had any moss around it. Since putting the extra moss on there though, both of these have perked back up because they were both on their way out. And then this one here is still working on that tiny, let me see if you can see that little tiny growth, but it is still growing. It's not dying. So that is good. So when I water these guys, I actually turn it upside down and I just let the water run through, and then I set it in another bowl and let it sit like that for about an hour to make sure that there's no water in the fans, because I don't want to rot them out. And the reason I started doing that is because I think that's what happened to this one here that is blending in with the moss. But do you see that dead leaf? So what I was doing is just not willy-nilly, but like I was running it this way and then just hanging them back up after letting them drain this way. So now what I've been doing is turning them upside down to water them, so that any water that does come, it just automatically drains off, and then I leave them upside down for a good hour before I hang them back up on the wall. Excuse me. And since doing that, these two, so this one finished this leaf right here, and she's working on a new leaf, and this one's got a new leaf coming out as well. So I'm going to continue doing that. And then last but not least, we've got the BCT Hawaiian treat that I bought from my local nursery here in Colorado, called Fantasy Orchids, and she's been on here since July. I bought her in May, and I put her on this mount in July. And she's got lots of roots that we can see kind of going down. But if you look, she's not very sturdy on the mount. Like, she feels loose, and I don't know if that's just because this is kind of a really thin piece of wood. It's not the best quality piece of wood, and it just feels like she's coming off. Because when I kind of pay attention, like, it doesn't look like she's coming off, but I might take her off of here and put it just off of this mount and just put her on a new mount. Just leave everything the way it is and just put her on a better mount, because I think this mount here is starting to wear down. Do you see how dark it is down here as opposed to how it looked when I first got it? So I think because this is a very thin piece of cork board, and I don't even know if it's cork, it's real flimsy. I purchased it on Amazon, and when I got it, I knew it wasn't good quality. So lesson learned. So leave in the comments and let me know what you think, because like I said, even when you look here, on here, you can't, like, she's not attached. Those roots are not attached to this cork. It's attached to the moss. So I'm thinking of just taking her off of here and strapping her onto a better piece of cork, one that has some more substance to it, like these. These I can get from Orchid Classics, or Brookside Orchid I think sells some good mounts. But I know not Brookside, but Orchid Classics, on their website, they have some packaging where you can buy it by the either by the piece, or you can get a big piece, cut it up, however. But this is where this came from. So I think I'm gonna move her over onto that. And I was also considering, as much as I think this is the cutest little piece of cork, it came out of the same packaging that the other one did. And when I go to pick it up, sometimes pieces are already falling off. So again, because this has not really settled itself onto this mount very well, I'm thinking in the spring, taking it off of here again, not removing any of the moss, just taking it off however it is, and put it on a better piece of cork. Again, those of you who are more experienced with mounting and taking them off the mounts and all of that jazzy stuff, leave in the comments down below your advice on what you think I should or should not do. I would very much appreciate that, because I only have these few mounts right now. I would like to get more in the future. I want to plan on getting like a trellis that you would normally use outside and put it on a wall, one of my walls, and then just kind of hooking some mounts on there so they're all in one spot. Again, that's going to be in the future, but it is something I'm considering, and so the more advice I can get on how to correctly take care of mounted orchids, the better. Of course, I've been doing my research, and that's where I came up with perhaps this piece of cork isn't the best for this specific orchid. All right, well guys, I appreciate you sitting through this. If you're still here, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Leave some comments down below. Subscribe if you haven't. I appreciate those of you who have. And I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of the day, and I'll see you on the next one.